Welcome to Trust Talks with BBB Serving CT. I'm Kristen Johnson. Today's topic is romance scams. Lonely hearts looking for love in all the wrong places. Many times, the victims of romance scams not only lose out financially, but they also lose trust. According to the FBI, a romance scam occurs when a criminal adopts a fake online identity to gain a victim's affection and trust. The scammer then uses the illusion of a romantic or close relationship to manipulate or steal from the victim. After a surge in romance scams during the pandemic because of COVID-19 restrictions, the number of romance scams actually continued to increase in the beginning of 2022. In fact, the number of reports of romance scams to BBB's Scam Tracker doubled in 2022. With me today is our guest, Lieutenant Ryan Bissett of the Waterbury Police Department. Lieutenant Bissett, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Kristen.
You know, we're going to go through some real-life situations that were reported by Connecticut victims to BBB Scam Tracker, victims who unfortunately got caught up in romance scams. I'm hoping you can kind of walk us through what some of the red flags might be and how we can avoid scams in the future. Do you think you can help with that? Yeah. First of all, can you tell us just big picture, what is the intention typically of a scammer when it comes to romance scams?
So it's pretty simple. Their intent is to quickly gain the trust of the victim, build a relationship, and then look for the opportunity to convince them, once they have that trust, to submit some kind of money towards an investment or towards some emergency that they've made up, that they've encountered.
And it's no coincidence that as we've seen a surge in these romance scam reports, we're also at a time when online dating and social media have never been more popular. Can you kind of talk about the part that they have played in this?
Yeah, as you mentioned, through COVID, these platforms have provided a great venue for individuals to connect with one another, and at the same time, they've been very attractive to con artists to take advantage of the situation. These individuals, they look for generally women mid to older age range that appear to be lonely. They scour profile pics, and it's be very cautious on what you post on there and the information that you put out. And as you mentioned, the Federal Trade Commission this year alluded that over $300 million was lost each year since 2020 to these types of scams.
300 million. And that makes your jaw drop.
Absolutely.
And it just shows how susceptible we are that we're losing that much money. This is just happening day in and day out.
Yes.
People are falling for it. Yikes. Well, let's talk about what's happening right here in Connecticut. These are some Scam Tracker reports posted by Connecticut residents. This first victim says she lost $3,000, and this is what she said in her report. Like this guy's Instagram account, and then started messaging on IG. Then we switched to Google Chat. He said all the right things about caring for me, about what ring I liked. Looks like he bought the ring off website, then said he was going on a business trip and asked me for a gift card for $100, saying it was for his baby mama and would pay me back. Well, then the ring engagement issue came up. It was stuck in customs, and he wanted me to give him the money in gift cards. So I got scammed out of $3,000. A lot to unpack there, but let's go through it. What are some of the red flags? What pops out to you right away?
So right away, early on, asking her what kind of ring she likes, trying to develop that relationship, build the emotion of the relationship. And then, you see from there the obstacles with the business trip, the urgency with the baby mama, and trying to loop her in to help with his situation. So those things right there, just asking about what ring, but it's not available, going on a trip, can't get it to her, there's a problem with customs. You see the trifecta here building up, and these kinds of things early on when you start engaging with someone should say that something's not right.
And also the gift cards. So we at BBB always say if someone asks you to pay for something in gift cards, that's a red flag.
Correct. They don't want any trace of monies. They're looking for something that can't come back to them. It's not normal.
A lot of times these scammers also prey on our emotions, and there's all different scams out there, but this is one of those types of scams where it's easy to ignore the red flags because you're caught up in it emotionally.
Yeah, you're correct. You know what? It might be good in these situations if you have someone close that you can trust to share this information with them as an independent, objective person outside of the relationship. They may tell you, hey, this doesn't sound right. Maybe you should do this. And always, the scammers, the con artists, they want to ask you a lot of questions. You got to start asking the questions. Start asking questions back when things don't seem right to you, because it's your money, it's your personal information, and you have to be very careful.
That's good advice. Let's take a look at another report. This comes from a woman in Connecticut who said she lost $5,000 in a romance scam. Here's her story. I encountered this scammer through an online dating site. We corresponded for a few weeks, and then he asked for a loan, which I foolishly gave him. Of course, his profile and info are all bogus. All I can do at this point is report the info I have on him so that other people are not scammed with this phone number or email address. So what should a person who is looking for love online do to prevent being taken?
Look at their profile, look for verified pics, look to see what kind of information was posted. Do your own research outside of the profile. Do a Google search. See what you can find, if this person even exists, if anything's on there. As I mentioned before, ask questions. Never, ever submit any personal information or financial information or money of any kind to someone that you've only met online or over the phone and not in person.
You mentioned earlier that women in their 50s and 60s are most often targeted or most susceptible to these types of scams. BBB research has found the same thing. In fact, both of these reports that I just read to you were women in their 50s and 60s. Why is that? Why is this age group being targeted more than younger women?
This age group, generally, there's a higher, amount that's divorced. If you're in this age group and you're not with somebody, you might be a little more vulnerable because you're lonely and seeking companionship. And ultimately, women in this age group have had some working years. They have some established savings. They have retirement accounts. They have assets that are very attractive to swindlers.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So when looking through our scam tracker reports, one that stood out to me probably more than any, just for the sheer amount of money that was stolen, was a case out of New York. This woman there claims she gave a scammer $330,000. Now, many romance scams are also financial scams, right? A lot of times they'll fake an emergency and say they need money. But now we're starting to see more investment type scams too that are connected with romance scams. Can you talk a little bit about that?
You are. They're, again, preying on the trust, the relationship that they form to then convince, once they've had that trust with an individual, to then trust on their investment. And they'll ask for a small amount of money at first. They'll return a little profit to the individual, maybe another little investment, a higher profit. The individual will feel that this is going in the right direction, and then that's when they ask for a significant amount more, and then the excuses start to come. There's restrictions for withdrawals, there's taxes need to be paid, the money can't be taken out at this time. So early on, if you're in a relationship or meeting someone again and you haven't met them in person and they're trying to solicit your money for an investment, flags should go off. There was actually a bulletin posted by the FBI in 2021 in regards to this exact type of scam and the growing trend tied in with romance scams towards investments. So it's something to be aware of. It's happening, and you have to recognize it.
So here's what happened to this woman. The scammer approached me through Instagram and quickly after asked for my WhatsApp number for better communication. We got along well, so we became friends, then online boyfriend and girlfriend. He said he lived in LA. He introduced me to investing in crypto. My story is the same as others, where we are being brainwashed and manipulated from our heart to our money, from investing in a small amount of money where the scammer makes sure you make money and withdraw it, to all in. He even persuaded me to borrow money from some banks and family, which I stupidly did. I was being scammed this whole time. I was crying my heart out many times, thinking how stupid I was. This whole time I was chasing after an illusion. I realized why some people decided to take their lives when they were in this kind of situation. It was very, very hard to take, and you feel suffocated. Now, when we talk about these scams, these women being targeted, the first thing we think about is the financial impact, but there's also a real emotional impact. Sometimes that's even worse than the financial impact.
Yeah, I agree, Kristen, and a great point. In these types of situations, they're very difficult to process because you've lost your hard-earned, whether it be retirement money, college savings for your kids. That money's gone, and you're trying to cope with that. At the same time, this illusion of a relationship that you were involved in is also gone. So I think it's very difficult for victims in these cases to process these losses, and definitely a time when you want to have some kind of counseling and maybe also speak to financial advisors to help a pathway to move forward.
So let's go over, you've mentioned a few different tips and tricks to avoid these scams, but I don't know if you have any others, or let's just kind of go through them one by one. What do we need to do to avoid romance scams?
So just on the things we talked about, I think you have to use caution when you're on these sites. If someone's messaging you, look at their pics, see if it's verified, look at what information they post, do your own research, ask a lot of questions about them. And we always say if something's not right, or you don't think it's right, it's probably not. Trust your instincts, share information with a close family member or friend if you don't think it's right. And also, if you do end up meeting anybody, always meet at a public place. Let someone know that you're meeting them, where you're going. If you haven't met this person before, if you're going to talk to them over the phone, I recommend using a Google Voice number to disguise your personal information, your own number. And again, I can't stress enough how important it is to never give out any of your personal financial information, no matter what kind of investment you're being told, no matter what kind of emergency is being proposed. Don't give it out. Don't become a victim to this crime. And as it's said before, if it sounds too good to be true, it most likely is.
Got to try to step out, take your heart out of it,
Yes.
take that emotion out of it, and try to think clearly about what's being requested of you. And it's really unfortunate because I know many people that have dated and gotten married to people they met online. So, I mean, it is a good avenue for some people. You just have to keep your guard up.
It is. And a lot of these dating sites, like the Match Group, who oversees Tinder and other sites, they've recognized this. They've taken steps to partner with law enforcement and financial advisors to do in-depth messaging, provide alerts and safeguards to help, because they don't want to see their customers become victims to these kinds of crimes either. That's not what the platform was designed to do.
So if someone does get caught up in a romance scam, obviously we want them to report it to BBB Scam Tracker. Should they also go to the police? I mean, are there any other avenues to report something like this?
Yeah, you can always report it to your local police department and the Federal Trade Commission, which regulates this type of fraudulent financial activity.
Are there any chance that they're going to get their money back?
It's very difficult cases to investigate. These individuals are masked. Their computers are disguised. It's a tedious investigative process. In some cases, it can be recovered, but at the least you want to make a report of it to create an awareness to others and share the information out there so that someone else doesn't become a victim.
Exactly. Lieutenant Ryan Bissett with the Waterbury Police Department. Thanks again for being with us
My pleasure,
today.
Kristen. Thank you.
And tackling this important topic. Better Business Bureau also has a few additional suggestions to avoid romance scams. Do your research. Many scammers steal photos from the internet to use in their dating profiles. You can do a reverse image lookup using a website like Google Images to see if the photos on a profile are stolen from somewhere else. Ask specific questions about details given in a profile. A scammer may stumble over remembering details or making a story fit. Never send money or sensitive personal information to someone you've never met in person, just as Lieutenant Bissett told us. Cut off contact if someone starts asking you for financial or personally identifiable information like your credit card number or social security number. And be very suspicious of requests to wire money or use a prepaid debit card. These are scammers' favorite ways to send payments because, like cash, once the money is gone, it can't be recovered. If you encounter a romance scam, cut off all contact with the perpetrator by blocking their accounts and their phone number, and then report it to BBB Scam Tracker at bbb.org/scamtracker to warn others. We'll be right back after this.
Every business says they're better, but the ones that earn and display the BBB seal back it up. It instantly identifies businesses that are committed to operating with integrity, honoring promises, and telling the truth. Makes you wonder why every business doesn't have it. So look for it, because it's looking out for you. That's why it's the sign of a better business. And find a better business anytime at bbb.org.
Romance scams aren't the only cons that pull at the heartstrings. Imposter websites, wrong number scams, fake florists all become a bit more popular around Valentine's Day. From fake jewelry sellers to online dating sites, consumers should always be on alert for imposter websites. What scammers do is they actually copy the real photos from legitimate websites, the sales, the logos, the promotions, and they'll create eerily similar websites to con you into thinking you're on the real website when really it's just a scam. Similar methods may also be used to create fake dating platforms. Those are used often to steal your personal data or your credit card information. Here are the red flags to watch out for. Products are available at extreme discounts. The seller requests customers pay with cash transfer apps or cryptocurrency, and customer service is unreachable. Responding to a text message from someone who messaged from the wrong number may seem harmless. In fact, it may actually seem like the polite thing to do, especially if someone is trying to reconnect with a potential match. But that conversation may be bait to lure you into giving up your personal information, because you see what happens is they may direct you to sign up for an adult website where they try to take your personal data or your credit card information. So here are the red flags of a fake number scam. The messages don't stop. The sender directs you to sign up for a website, and then they try to get your personal information. Ordering flowers for Valentine's Day? Don't procrastinate, or you may end up falling for a fake florist scam. BBB Scam Tracker always receives a number of reports around Valentine's Day of people who fell for this scam. They ended up not getting any flowers or an arrangement that fell short of expectations. So here are the red flags to avoid this scam. The business has no reviews or bad reviews. Always check bbb.org first. You can't find a return policy or satisfaction guarantee, and the deal is just too good to be true. To look up what scams are happening in your area, visit bbb.org/scam-tracker. That's not only a great place to learn what scams are trending, but also report a scam. Even if you didn't lose money, report it to warn others. That does it for Trust Talks. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.
The SAYBROOK Fish House in Canton has been serving fresh seafood, chicken, and steak entrees for 34 years, offering 3 cozy dining room settings, a newly renovated pub with craft beer, wine by the glass, specialty cocktails, and a lighter fare menu. Open for lunch and dinner 7 days a week. Reservations accepted for parties of 2 to 42, and gift certificates are also available. The SAYBROOK Fish House, nestled at the crossroads of Route 44, 202, and 179 in Canton.